A dozen eggs, $1 back home in Ohio. That same dozen eggs in the California goldfields, $100. Not a typo, not an exaggeration. And the thing is, nobody thought that was strange anymore, because when gold is everywhere and everything else isn't, the dollar stops meaning what you think it means. So how does finding the most valuable metal on earth make a man too broke to eat breakfast? January 24th, 1848. James Marshall is working at Sutter's Mill on the American River when something catches his eye in the water. He reaches down. It's gold. Within months, the word is out, and within a year, 80,000 people have abandoned their lives, their families, their farms, and flooded into California chasing the same dream. What they found was a world where gold was everywhere, and a dollar was worth almost nothing. Here's what nobody told those 80,000 men before they left. The journey alone could kill you. Overland from Missouri to California, around 2,000 miles, took 4 to 6 months on foot or by wagon. You crossed deserts. You crossed the Sierra Nevada. You buried people along the way and kept moving. And when you finally got there, if you got there, you were broke, exhausted, and standing in a line with thousands of other men who'd had the exact same idea. The physical reality of mining was nothing like the posters back east suggested. You stood in freezing Sierra Nevada rivers for 10, 12 hours a day, bent over a pan, swirling mud and gravel, hoping to see a flicker of yellow at the bottom. Most days you didn't. Your back gave out. Your boots rotted off your feet. For most 49ers, gold mining proved unprofitable. The streams that were rich in late 1848 got stripped fast. By the time the bulk of the 80,000 arrived in 1849, the easy placer gold near the surface was largely gone. The men who cleaned up early moved on. The men who arrived later were left scrambling for whatever was left in worked-over gravel beds. Population in California exploded from around 14,000 in 1848 to over 200,000 by 1852, all of them competing for the same shrinking supply of accessible gold. But here's the thing that kept everyone going. The numbers at the top were real. Gold production in California hit $40 million in 1849 alone, and $81 million by 1852. For the lucky few who struck it, a single good day in the field could pay more than a full year's wages back home in New York or Ohio. Stories of those men traveled fast. The failures didn't travel nearly as fast, but here's what nobody told them before they left. Gold was only half the problem. Because even if you found it, spending it was going to cost you everything. Think about how a dollar worked back in a standard Wild West saloon in the 1840s. The whole economy didn't even run on cents, it ran on the Spanish bit. A Spanish dollar could be physically chopped into 8 pieces, and 1 bit was worth 12.5 cents. 2 bits equaled a quarter, 4 bits was 50 cents. That's where 2 bits for a haircut came from, so a glass of cheap whiskey cost 1 bit, 12.5 cents. Beer, same thing. A full saloon meal ran 10 to 15 cents. A room for the week? $1, maybe $1.50. Your dollar went a long way. But there was a catch. The US never minted a 12.5 cent coin, so every transaction involved a little rounding game. Pay with a quarter for that 1 bit drink, and the bartender handed you a dime back, so you actually paid 15 cents instead of 12.5. That was called the long bit. Pay with a dime at a friendlier place, and some bartenders would accept it. The short bit, meaning you only paid 10 cents. Savvy drinkers learned to work the gap, paying with a dime where it was accepted, then using that same dime somewhere else it wasn't supposed to be enough. Now take that same dollar to the California goldfields. That same 1 bit whiskey, 12.5 cents back in a normal saloon, cost 50 cents to a full dollar in gold dust in the camps. The bartender didn't just take your word on how much dust you were handing over either. He had a small brass scale sitting on the counter, and he weighed your pinch before he'd pour. The long bit and short bit games didn't exist out here. There was no rounding in your favor. You paid what they asked in gold, or you went thirsty. A saloon meal back east cost 15 cents. That same plate of beans and salt pork in a mining camp cost $1 to $3, and that was if you could even get it. Supply chains into the gold fields were brutal. There were no railroads into the Sierra Nevada foothills. Everything came by mule or wagon over mountain passes, and every mile of that journey got priced into whatever you were eating. And then there were the eggs. Back home in the rest of the country, a dozen eggs cost about $1. In the California goldfields, that same dozen ran $100, roughly $8 per egg, more than a full day's wages for most workers back east. The egg was the ultimate luxury item because it was nearly impossible to transport without breaking. Fragile, perishable, irreplaceable. Merchants who figured out how to get eggs into camp alive could name their price, and they did. Daily wages for San Francisco laborers jumped from $6 to $16 between 1848 and 1849. That sounds like a raise, but prices jumped faster. A bunk for the night in a San Francisco rooming house cost $3 to $5, when that same dollar rented a room for a week back home. A pair of boots, something a miner absolutely needed, skyrocketed to prices that could wipe out a full week of digging. A basic meal could cost more than a full day's labor back in Ohio. Nationally, inflation during the gold rush era ran around 30%. In California, it hit as high as 1,000% in some areas. California wasn't just part of the American economy, it was its own separate economy, completely disconnected from the rest of the country by geography and by the sheer concentration of gold, flooding a region with no real supply chain to support it. And even if you had cash, actual paper cash, California merchants didn't want it. Greenbacks, the paper currency the government had been pushing since the Civil War era, were viewed out west as suspicious government promises. Westerners, flush with real gold coming out of the ground, operated on what they called a yellowback economy, hard gold and silver coins only. A merchant in Sacramento might list a pair of boots for $5 in gold. Show up with paper and he'd mentally recalculate on the spot, charging you $7 or $8 for the same boots. That's a 50% penalty just for paying in government-issued currency. The further you got from the east, the more worthless your paper became. So who actually got rich? Not the men standing in the river. The merchants did. The landlords did. The men who controlled the supply routes into the camps, they did. Sam Brannan, who bought up all the mining supplies in the Sacramento area right before announcing the gold discovery publicly, reportedly became California's first millionaire without ever swinging a pick. The real money in the gold rush was never in the gold. It was in selling shovels and eggs to the men who believed the gold would make everything worth it. The dollar didn't fail because gold was worthless. It failed because gold was everywhere. That's what the gold rush actually was. Not just a story of men getting rich off the land, but a story of a dollar getting completely destroyed. Gold flooded in faster than anything else could follow, and the people who understood that the earliest made their fortune selling breakfast to the ones who didn't. Which price hit you hardest, the $100 eggs, or the fact that the merchants cleaned up while the miners went broke? Drop it in the comments below. Subscribe to Gunslinger Gazette for more stories about the hidden economics behind the moments that built the American West.